Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fit Chicks and Hormones podcast. I am Angie Marone, your host, and I am here with a special guest today, Dr. Nathalie, and she just told me how to say this, and I'm probably going to say it right. Beauchamp.
Pretty close.
All right. uh, Dr. Nathalie is a biohacking expert who helps professional women in their 40s and beyond cut through the health confusion to balance their hormones, reclaim their energy naturally, which is amazing because that's what I'm looking for as well. And with nearly 30 years in functional medicine, she's the best-selling author of the books Hack Your Healthy Habits and Smart Cuts, Biohack Your Health Span. Hello, Dr. Nathalie. How are you today?
I'm great, Angie. Looking forward to our conversation.
Good, good. So I'm so excited for this because for one, you're speaking my language, right? Everything you share and talk about, it's like I'm trying to do that myself, put these things into practice. But it's also what I want all the women out there to know so that they can understand there is a way forward, a path forward in their menopausal years so that they can feel their absolute best and thrive no matter what they choose to do, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so let's start by just talking about what is biohacking. I know I understand it, but some people are like, what is that word? I don't even understand what that means. So,
Yeah, great question. And I think everybody's definition is going to be a bit different. I know that, the godfather of biohacking, David Asprey, would probably have a different definition than I. But to me, it's biohacking is how to be efficient with your health by, not spending time and money on things that don't matter and just focusing on the things that are really going to move the needle when it comes to results. So to me, that's my definition of biohacking. It's also combining several things together to, again, amplify the results you're going to get and also cut on time. For an example, here are something that doesn't cost anything in the morning, barefoot, getting outside, grounding, getting the sun into your eyes to start your circadian cycle, having your cup of tea or coffee, decaf, or whatever you're drinking, or any type of tincture that you like to drink with potentially some creatine and some collagen. So I just name several biohacks that didn't cost us too much to be outside and grounding and getting the sun, right? So to me, this is what biohacking is leveraging our physiology and leveraging our time to be as efficient as possible to be able to do as much as we can.
right, right. I love that. I love that. And I talk about like all the pieces of the puzzle, right? To put our life into place where we want it to be. Like there's lots of different things and they don't have to cost a lot of money. It's just so many things you could do, like going for a walk. It doesn't
Yeah,
cost any money to put those shoes on and go outside just to get
yeah,
started, right?
yeah.
Something simple. I love that. Yeah. So as I feel like I am, a high achieving woman. I have these businesses I'm running and I find that in my 50s now, things are harder than when I started. I was starting all these businesses in my late 30s. Just in the past couple years, things are getting a little bit more difficult, right? So, what things have you found, or like what patterns do you see in perimenopausal and postmenopausal women that affects like their energy, their performance, their output?
Yeah, great question. So again, because I've been in practice for 30 years, my training is as a chiropractor. I'm also certified with the Institute of Functional Medicine and Functional Medicine. Mind you, I am a chiropractor, first and foremost, and I'm having patients coming in and patients I've been taking care of for over 30 years, and I've seen the change with them, and I see firsthand. And that's why I find I have a good pulse on what the challenges are with people. So typically what we'll see is a woman in her 30s, as you said, go, push, maybe not sleep enough and maybe, not taking care of herself. And what happens is that we really are pushing our glands that are called the adrenal glands. And the adrenal glands, yes, they will produce adrenaline, like almost got in a car accident, adrenaline pumping, but also cortisol, which is, again, in the body, there's no such thing as too little or too much. The body is smart and it will calibrate things. But point being, if your cortisol is peaking at the wrong time, typically you'll wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, ready to go, so sleep is starting to get affected. People might even mention like hot flashes in their late 30s or early 40s. And it's hormonal in a way because cortisol is a hormone, but it's not so much the estrogen and the progesterone, it's the stress hormones. And also add to that sugar dysregulation. So if a person is not tuned in with her diet, for instance, in eating too much carb, not enough protein, and good fats to stabilize the blood sugar, then here you go. So that, and adding to that, not eating enough protein in general. For women, that's a mistake that I see all the time. So toss this in, with stress in your 40s, and then adrenals are tapped out. There is such a thing as cortisol steal because hormones need cholesterol as building blocks. And if cortisol is stealing some of the pregnenolone blocks that you need for estrogen and progesterone and even testosterone, which, a lot of women don't think about that, but we need to think about that as well. So that creates disturbance to start with. And then boom, your production of estrogen and progesterone decreases. And if a person hasn't paid attention and nurtured their adrenals and really took control of their stress, this is when symptoms can really come, squishing and it all at the same time. And I also like add the toxicity that we're being bombarded into the equation, and then you can see you have a melting pot of different things that can have an impact. So very typical to see that. And then to finish that train of thought, a woman will say, "Oh, I don't have energy." They go to their family doctor, blood work, all is good, nothing's wrong with you. Some people will even get on antidepressant because they think they're depressed. So that's kind of the typical pattern that we see, unfortunately. And we have to also realize that there's not a lot of studies for us women when it comes to hormones. There was a women's health study, which was poorly done, scared the heck out of so many women to be followed properly as they're aging, and the doctors have not been trained properly, no fault of their own. It's just that it's kind of a whole generation that just got skipped into the training for women's health, and a lot of the research is done on young male. So how do we interpret that, right? So I know it's a
Yeah.
long answer, but that's it's kind of the journey that I see with many, many, many women.
I love that. And no, the more we talk about, the better. Because again, this is so much, the education, I think, is what the women need so much. Because all this stuff I didn't know before I started going through it all. And then I learned and wanted to know more and research, otherwise I would have been like, why am I just falling apart?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Understand. Um, and I can relate to the stress, running businesses, doing all the things. People are being moms, they're doing all the things. And I quite often talk about, you need to do stress care, right? Because otherwise it's going to spike your cortisol. All these things are going to happen. But my experience is when I get stressed out, my cortisol goes, it tanks, right? So it's a whole different thing. And that, again, plays into I have no energy. I don't have any motivation. I can't push through. I can't do the things. And simply comes back to you have to stop and just like what can you do to just calm down your system, because I think that's the number one thing, because we have busy lives, we are going there's it's and stress is never going anywhere.
yeah,
If
yeah,
we don't stop to just be like I have to do something now, it's going to cause so many other health
yeah.
issues too, not just menopausal stuff.
Yeah, and that's why I talk a lot about resilience. And to me, I kind of a triangle of resilience with nervous system regulation, hormones, and also the mitochondria, which is our energy center. So I feel like when we look at resilience and building our resilience, because you're right, we are going to have stressors. So we want to build a level of resilience that we're able to cope with all this. But again, that sympathetic fight or flight mode all the time is not realistic. And if we don't take the time to unwind and activate our parasympathetic rest and digest system, then we're out of balance. And that's why, like in the body, if there's one thing I've learned in 30 years, the body is so smart. It will try to balance you out when you're out of balance, but those things do need to happen. So and it's different for everyone, every situation, and that's why I'm not a big fan of the one size fits all. And unfortunately, you know, you go on your TikTok or your Instagram and you see someone your age and she's doing this and she's doing this. And it's like, oh, that's what I should be doing. That's what I should be eating. My girlfriend's doing the paleo. I should be doing this. My girlfriend's doing she's vegan. I should. So it becomes so overwhelming. And I think we do have to sit back and analyze what's working, what's not working, and then ask help with people, are there nutritionists or naturopath or holistic doctors to get a bit of guidance so you don't have to do this all on your own.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. And that's the thing too, is we're afraid to ask for the help. We just think that this is just us. I don't want anybody to know that I'm a mess or that I'm falling apart. But hopefully, by all this stuff that we're sharing and everything, people, it's not just you, it's everyone. We're all going through it, and everybody's going to go through it, right?
Yeah.
You're at some point, it's again coming back to these strategies. So let's talk about that. Like, what are some specific biohacking strategies that you recommend to women that are, they're going through that 30s, getting into their 40s, 50s, and they're just like, I don't even know where to start. I don't know
Yeah.
what is the most
I
important.
think the first thing, you know, in our book, Smart Cuts, we talk about, you know, sleep, rest, and recovery. And it's the first one because if you don't have that, you know, yes, fuel and hydration and you know, supplements are important, but you need your sleep. So I think first thing is to really pay attention to your sleep. Are you sleeping enough? And if you're not, you know, figure out why. Change your routine, you know, your bedtime routine with no electronics, you know, is it taking magnesium? Is it taking, you know, different herbal supplements to help you? So sleep is key because if you don't have sleep, your cortisol will be dysregulation, your metabolism is going to be all over the place. So we really, really, really need to take control of our sleep. And I know it sounds boring to say, it's so, you know, simple, you know, but simple is not necessarily easy, and we do need to you know, to think of that. And then I would say, you know, from a nutrition point of view, always whole food as much as we can. So it's a matter of planning. I know it's troublesome to cook for ourselves and we need to plan, but it is such a huge component. And if you don't have the right food in the house, you're not gonna, you know, make healthy choices. And even if you have kids, sometimes people will say, oh, I'm making food for the kids and food for myself. I'm like, hold on a second. So it's good for you and that's what you need, but you're going to feed your kids something else. I'm like, okay, that doesn't really make sense, right? And it's part of educating our kids, and make them part of going to do groceries, because when they become adult, they're going to have to take care of themselves. You know, no one cooks for anyone, right? Like you need to learn those skills. So preparation and food, I think, is huge. And I'm not a cook myself, so when I say it's painful to do this, I'm talking about me because I know some people enjoy cooking. I don't. To me, it's like fuel, but I know that I need good fuel, so I will put in the effort. And then in terms of, you know, if you are having some issues controlling your stress, there are some good herbal supplements like ashwagandha, rhodiola. I know I haven't personally been taking them since my late 30s and early 40s to really help, you know, stabilize all of this. And they're called adaptogen because they're herbal. So they will balance what needs to be balanced. And that's why I really like adaptogen. So definitely looking at that. And then I've mentioned it already, enough protein at each meal. This is something that so many women kind of, you know, skip. When I work with people and I've got them writing everything to eat for a week, most women get 40-50 grams of protein if they're lucky per day, which is not enough because muscle mass is so important because, you know, we call it kind of the metabolic sink. The more muscle you have, the better tuned your metabolism will be. So, and as we age 30, we hit 30, muscle mass decrease and bone density as well. And that's another thing that we need to take care of. So those are really important things, I would say. And then breath work as well. And I know it sounds, you know, simple, but there's nothing that is so um, simplistic to do to change your physiology very, very quickly. And again, doesn't cost anything. And there's just so many different apps out there or YouTube video that's like, okay, I'm done with this after, and actually I was gonna go for a walk because the sun just peeked out, and you know what? I've been going at it since this morning, and I'm gonna take the time. Do I really have the time to go for a walk? Probably not, but I will take the time. So it's prioritizing that. So as I mentioned, the breath work is an easy way to reset your nervous system because your nervous system controls everything. And if you're in that dominant state, as I mentioned, it's not going to be great for your overall health and well-being. So so many tools out there, right, to be able to do that. And then exercise for sure. Strength training, talk about muscle mass, but I think a lot of women shy away from strength training, and it's too bad. We do need to do cardio for cardiovascular health, but that muscle strength training aspect is key for women. I think it's often overlooked.
Yep. Yes, those are all amazing. I love that. And again, all the things that I myself do, I share with everyone to try and get them to do too. And I think what's like you talked about the breathing that you can do. We don't deep breathe because we're always rushing, 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 and it's all these short little breaths, which just puts our body in more,
Yeah,
you know, high stress. And simple thing, you can just stop and breathe. And I think I've been sharing this more than I have anything in the past couple months. It's just like, I just want you to stop twice a day and just breathe.
yeah,
And when they do, they're like, oh my gosh, my body just feels better. My shoulders drop. I'm like, yes, it doesn't
yeah,
cost you a thing. It takes 2 minutes and it's the best
yeah.
thing you can do for your body for your entire day. So,
Yeah. And I think you're bringing a good point with this that we're always connected. And I was just talking to a friend this morning, and it's like, when was the last time that, you went somewhere with no phone, maybe in the woods near your house, and just sat there, no sound, no podcast, no music, nothing, right? So I think we're so bombarded all the time that we don't check in too often. And I find breath work does do that, right? Like it slows us down and allows us to check in. How do I feel? Am I tired? Am I energized? Like what's going on? And again, we grab a phone. We have 2 minutes to ourselves. We grab a phone. We go on Facebook. We go on Instagram. We stroll. We check email. Like we are so not disconnecting anymore, and to our detriment to have that cortisol and that stress in our lives all the time. So I think this is huge to be aware of what's happening and then to carve in your schedule a 5 minute, a 10 minute to say, whatever it is that you do to reconnect with yourself and check in.
right. Yeah, that's teaching mindfulness or being mindful in your body. That's again, this is the hardest thing for me to teach women because, right? We got all the things. I'm guilty of this too. Like, I don't like quiet. Quiet kind of stresses me out sometimes, but I will do meditations for 10, 15, 20 minutes because that's the only thing I'm focusing on at that time is just breathing and my body and even my thoughts go, but I'm bringing myself back because I know otherwise all day long I just need stimulation because that's just what makes me feel comfortable, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah. And
planning.
even if it's just 5 minutes, right? Like I myself have a hard time meditating. For me, walking is meditating, like
Mhm.
movement. I need movement. So I made peace with the fact that, yeah, I'll sit down to do some breath work, but even then I do it when I'm walking, right? So you gotta go with your personality and what fits in your life. But even if it's 5 minutes of doing nothing and just thinking, is this meditation or is it not? Like, you know what I mean? Like that, it's like, what is meditating? It's just trying to quiet down your thoughts. So if it's 5 minutes and I think I've achieved it, I'm not going for a meditation marathon here to say, oh, I've meditated for 30 minutes. So again, everyone is different. And I'm sure, to a certain degree, if we practice more, we would probably get better. But you have so many things at your fingertips for health that you need to go and get the tools and strategies that work for you, right?
Yeah, we can offer suggestions, but you have to figure out what works best for you as a person and what,
Yeah,
yeah, because otherwise if we try to force you to do, no, you have to do this,
yeah,
it's not going to work that way.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
sustainable.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, I mean, there's just so many things that we can talk about. And I think we have to talk about the mindset too as women that, it's there's a lot of pressure being put on women from a career point of view, from being a good parent, a good mother, potentially a business owner, and so forth. And I mean, there's a lot of pressure on men too. I'm not saying that there's not, but we have the hormonal aspect that is hitting us, so much more than men. They do not have the fluctuation. And like I said, a lot of people don't want to talk about it. They're embarrassed by it. Or the other thing I see too is there's the acceptance that they're going to be miserable from 40 to 80. Like I still have women in their 60s on my table having hot flashes. I'm like, this is not normal, right? Like,
Yeah.
so, you know what I mean? So I think it's one or the other. It's kind of joking about it that, you're going to be miserable for that, whatever length of time, or not talking about it because you're trying to figure it out on your own and so forth. And I'm not saying that there's not some self work that needs to be done, looking at your exercise routine, looking at your diet, looking at your supplements, but again, there are people out there that will help women work through this, so they don't have to suffer and end up, like I said, on antidepressant because nothing else seems to make sense for them to get help
Right.
for.
Yeah, that's one thing that I hope to get through women's is that you don't have to go to your primary doctor and just settle for what they tell you.
Yeah.
You're aging and here, take this, and that's all I can do for you because that is not the answer. It's not the
No.
answer.
Yeah, especially now with practitioner, as I mentioned, naturopath or functional medicine practitioner and so forth. Like all of these people will go more to the source of the problem, trying to figure out the mechanism behind how you're feeling. But at the end of the day, a lot of time it's lifestyle changes, and it's only you that can do those lifestyle changes. So it may be to say no to different things. It may need to be that you look at your calendar or your to-do list and it's like, okay, what is has been added to my plate that needs to go, right? Like I mean, we all have responsibilities in our lives that we don't always love everything that we do in a day, but you get to a point that you say, okay, do I really need this? And sometime I find I think I wrote a blog on this years ago, the not to do list. And I will sit down and go over the not to do list. And because it's like you need to purge, you need to do a cleanup in your activities, but because it's easy to, oh, just add this and oh, I'm just gonna, I'll go on the board of this group or, I'll join this. And even from I say a group, like belonging to different Facebook groups, yeah, it's your interest, but then you become bombarded by so many things. So that's really why you need to disconnect. We can't be bombarded all the time. It's not good from a nervous system point of view.
No, not at all. Yeah, I like to do a brain dump list. Like everything
Yeah,
that's in my brain, I put it down, and then I look at it, I'm like, well, 10 of these things I don't even really need to do. But they were
yeah,
taking up space, keeping
yeah,
me from getting other so yeah, get rid of all the stuff and say no. I think turning because I've just turned 53, but in my 50s, I'm okay with saying no to things that just, before I'd feel guilty and I'd cringe and I'd be like, I'm just gonna go do it anyway, suck it up. But now I'm like, it's not worth it for me to do
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
And that,
I think it comes with age for sure. I feel the same way that, again, not to say that we don't have obligations sometimes that are out of our control, but if there's more of those obligations than not, then we really need to reassess and not falling to the pressure of whatever, right? Like I'll just give you an example. My friend asked me to join a once a week a class of self-defense. Sounded great, but it's at 7:30 at night, so it's not done before 8:30. I haven't had dinner. I get home, I'm all wired up, screws up my sleep like crazy. I tried for 4 weeks and I said, girlfriend, I loved it while I was there, but this is just not working for me. So, before I would have probably sucked it up and pushed through it, but then I realized my sleep and my routine was more important. So it seemed like a good idea at the time to say yes, but it actually, she came to the same conclusion as me because she's a morning person as well. So we should probably be there at 7 o'clock in the morning and
Yeah.
not at 7 o'clock at night. So,
Yeah.
knowing your boundaries. And I didn't feel like, it was a failure or I quit or no, it just didn't fit in my life right now and just wasn't worth it.
That's huge. I like what you just said too. You didn't feel like a failure. You didn't feel like you were letting yourself down. That's the biggest thing I come across with women is feeling like, oh, I can't do it all and I'm not winning or I'm just not worth it or I can't, and that's hard
Yeah.
to hear. And it's hard
Yeah.
for me I want them to realize they are worth it and they aren't failing. Like you don't have to be perfect ever.
Yeah.
You just have to keep getting up every single day and doing something.
What do they say? 1% better today than you were tomorrow, yesterday. So, and I think that goes for many, many areas of our life. We're a work in progress. We're constantly learning. And sometimes, some days, I always say, and we go over that in our book, Smart Cut, what are your non-negotiables that, you want to do every day? But then we have people walk through an exercise to say, what are your daily non-negotiable and then your weekly and your monthly and then your quarterly? Because let's face it, you can't do everything that's healthy in a day. You have life, you have commitment and so forth. So when we have people write it down and in that mindset, they go, oh, you mean I don't have to do everything every day? No, it's impossible, right? So giving ourselves a permission to say, okay, I do want to go do, I don't know, 3 strength training workout during the week. Well, then just make it happen. Oh, I forgot I don't know, my fish oil supplement last night. Oh, well, I'll take them tomorrow, right? Like it's just giving yourself permission to just start again the next day. And that's the beauty of us being human is that we have the function of choice and we can choose to restart every day or do better the next day. So I think giving ourselves a permission and understanding that there's no way you can do all the workouts, all the supplements, and all the breath work. And you'd be doing this all day, right? So understanding that, doing all of this in a week will still give you very much some big health benefit, and it doesn't have to be jammed in one day.
Right. Right. And realizing that if you're not perfect, that doesn't mean you just quit.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Just do something. I
Exactly.
was like, if
Yeah.
you got so much going on, I want you to pick one thing. Just focus on this one thing for a week because
Yeah.
it also gives you something to focus on, right? So you feel like you're winning every single day.
Yeah.
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 Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so for the women that are, you know, doing a lot of things, feeling overwhelmed and everything, like so they can just feel good in their body, right? Because I think that's women are exhausted, they're not sleeping, they're either hungry or they're not hungry because they haven't been eating and their body's like, oh, we don't need to
Yeah.
feed you anymore. They have
Yeah.
mood swings, like everything sends them into a spiral of I'm crying or I'm laughing or I'm angry at somebody, like to just feel good in their body in the moment. Like what would be maybe one or two things? What would you recommend the first thing to start just so they can feel good in their body to make them be motivated to do more?
It's a tough question because you painted kind of different scenarios in the sense that it is hard when someone doesn't have energy, like literally like tapped out all the time. And I see it and I feel bad because, I have tons of energy. Maybe not so much at 9 o'clock when it's time to go to bed, but
Same.
I have energy. So I always feel bad for the people that tell me, Natalie, I'm dragging my feet all day long. So I would say, if it's that, like you really need some help to figure out why that is. And don't do it on your own. Go for blood work. Let's see what's going on. Talk to a nutritionist. Try to really clean up your sleep. Get some movement and don't fall for, oh, I should be fasting and I should be cold plunging and I should be doing all that. Maybe, but maybe not. Because if you're that ran down and tapped out, this is cold plunging in the river when your cortisol is low and you're not sleeping. It's not a good thing, and that's why I think sometimes we're trying to follow what the guys are doing and it's fine for them, but it's just not right for us at a certain time in our lives and so forth. So I'd say if your energy is that low, you need to see it as a medical condition. You need to see it as something serious that you need to figure out why and get help from it. Now, if it's a matter of being overwhelmed and confused, then I would just say carve yourself like 15 minutes every morning that before everybody gets up and have some quiet time. So you can just sit there and think and be in tune with you and how you feel. And then I would say, do the three things you need to do that day. And that's it. Be proud of it when they're done, but don't go 20, 25 items deep in the to-do list because it's too much. And then of those three things, make sure that, maybe it could be three things for work and three things personal, but get some wins, get some stuff that to say, you know what? I had a meeting, but we went for a walk instead of sitting. I met with a friend for coffee. Well, let's go for a walk. So it's starting to integrate the things that are going to be good for you, to implement them. For moms that, have kids in soccer, well, walk the track around the soccer field while your kid is playing. So it's to start to integrate those movement habit, those health habits into your regular routine, so you're not just adding one more thing. So maybe for you it's not driving 15 minutes to the gym, doing a class, taking a shower, driving 15 minutes back. Maybe you don't have that 2 hours, but what could you do to get some movement and some exercise even at home? So I think the situation you describe is different if it's an energy, truly something is wrong, or it's the motivation, it's the overwhelm. They kind of need to be addressed a little bit differently.
I love that point. That's awesome that you pulled that out of there. And that's so true, right? Because it depends on what's going on and where you should start. And so you recommend people always have their labs run, or do you think it's just like if you're just feeling exhausted and
Well, I think that the basic labs are important, but they don't tell us the full story either, right? So that's why I'm a big fan of naturopath or functional medicine doctor, because they have more tests that they can run. For example, one test that I'm a big fan of is the omega-6 to 3 index. So it's a blood spot that you can do. It gives you 11 fatty acids profiles, and it gives you your omega-6 to 3. And I'm sure you're familiar with seed oils and not enough omega-3s. And in North America, our ratio are usually 25 to 1, and they should be 3 or 2 to 1. Well, a simple test like that is a few $100, and it tells you exactly this, and it tells you if you're inflamed. It tells you if your omega index is 2% and it should be 8%. So there are a lot of other tools that are more personalized and function based. I mean, regular blood work is also function to a certain extent, but just knowing that the typical blood work is the basic, and then there's a lot that can be done. Even a lot of time women will have thyroid issue, and that's why they're fatigued, but they go for the basic test and nothing shows. Well, there's more detailed panels that you can do to see if you have, antibodies to your thyroid and you have Hashimoto, and it just wasn't picked up on a regular blood work. So I'm a big fan of that. And it's also motivational when you see your labs. So for instance, if your HbA1c is borderline pre-diabetic, you're like, okay, now I need to, and HbA1c is our 3 months blood sugar. So if you're, flirting with being pre-diabetic or diabetic, then say, okay, I really have to take my diet seriously, and then you retest in 3 months. So you've got something to measure, a lifestyle intervention, and then something to measure again, as opposed to go see your doctor. Oh, you're a bit overweight, start moving, eat better, and I'll see you in 2 years, right? What the heck is that? You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah. Not motivating, it doesn't give you any
Yeah,
direction. Yeah, I
yeah,
agree. I like the labs too for that reason. Like it, and me, I'm a very visual person. Like I
yeah,
want to know what's happening in my body and what's going on. And then when I see it, I'm like, okay, now I know what I need to fix. But for
yeah,
somebody to just be like, well, I think this is going on, so let's just do this. And they'd be like,
yeah.
well, how do you know that? How?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I
So,
love
so that's why I'm a big fan of measuring as much. And again, my goodness, the body is so complex. We can test all the tests that we want. We can pull in the genetics and the SNPs and all that. And it could, and then do a gut micro analysis of the microbiomes. And then, okay, what should you do with all of that data? It becomes overwhelming. So I always say it's kind of like peeling an onion. You just have to go one bit at a time and see what does that mean, and what does that needs to be, what do we need to focus on, and so forth. It is complex. Health is
it is.
simple, but it's complex,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yep. And if you try to do too many things at once, you don't even know what really is working. So
Yeah,
you're like, then I have to keep doing all this stuff because this is
yeah,
overwhelming. No, let's figure out
yeah,
what one thing is going to make you feel better, help you. Good, good.
yeah.
Um, all right, this has been so valuable. I love this. This, like I said, this is all the stuff that I practice myself. I share with all the women too. And I know my listeners are probably going to want to know more about you, dive into your books. So if you want to share a little bit about those books, what they
Yeah,
can.
most of my books are on Amazon. The latest one is called Smart Cuts, Biohack Your Healthspan, cutting edge protocols for greater energy and performance, because that's what we want, right? And even if we're not athletes, we still want to perform at our best. So on Amazon, and then my website is drnat.life. Kept it simple because I know my last name can be challenging to pronounce. And on the website, you can download, I've got an ebook that's my top 10 biohacking tools. I blog weekly. People can subscribe to my newsletter as well. As I said at the start, I constantly learning myself, and I was just in Norway at a nutrition conference, and it's just like I just love to keep learning and align myself with companies or doctors that are on the same path, so we can help our patients to a greater scale.
Yeah, I love that. And that's same. I like to educate. There's so much information. It's changing all the time that just to keep educating yourself and learning more. Yeah, awesome. Amazing. This has been wonderful. I appreciate your time so much. I will take all of your information. I will put it in the show notes so everybody will have access to that as well. If there's any one last thing you'd like to share with my listeners, this
Well,
has
I
been
think, we went pretty deep, but at the end, it doesn't have to be this hard. Keeping it simple. I think sometimes we have so much information and so many tools, we feel overwhelmed. It's still sleeping, it's still movement, it's still real food, it's still connections with your friends and family. It's still, all the basic stuff that, you think back at, 30, 40 years ago, those things are still crucial. So it's nice to talk about biohacking, but at the end of the day, the basics are still very important.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge with us. I appreciate that so much.
Thank you so much, Angie.
Thanks for tuning in. If today's episode hit home, make sure to subscribe to the show and share it with a friend who needs it too. And if you're ready for more support, come hang out with us in the Fit Chicks and Hormones community. The link is in the show notes. And until next time, keep showing up for yourself. You deserve it.